Carlos Ramirez, owner of NVS Audio from Roselle, New Jersey. Got a beautiful Road Glide in from Maryland for a wiring rescue. She told me it was bad. It's worse than what she thought. So check it out. So I don't know what happened in the saddlebag, but we got the wire going through the carpet, up and around, and we got some duct tape. Then we have a splice connector into another connector. And then the worst part is they put the 8-inch mid-bass driver with no spacer. So speaker is hitting the side of the bag. That's the saddlebag. So the bike makes absolutely no bass. They cut the ring all the way around so you see the woofer out of the back of the bag. Now I knew it was going to be bad when I saw this. So they jumped the ground from here. Terrible ground to begin with. So I'm assuming they did that because they were getting noise issues. Pull the fairing, D. Wow. So we have the wire tie amp rack. And then to keep water off the radio, they use a plastic bag and some duct tape to keep water off the amp. I'm curious to find out why this amp is put here like this and this amp thrown in here, because since it's a Sony 7000, there's a ton of room under the radio and on top of the headlight. So we're gonna start cutting some of these fancy wire ties and see what's under there. So we got some spaghetti. Of course, aluminum wire. Hey, look at that. And when you don't have enough wire, oh wow, that's the power. So they use an 8-gauge wire. Then it was too short, so they put a butt connector, and they ran a 14-gauge wire as a ground. I'm sure the amp's happy about that. What the hell's going on here? Oh wow, it looks like they went from 8-gauge to 4-gauge on this one. Wow, that's pretty bad. So they went from 8-gauge to 4-gauge, and on this side they went from 8-gauge to 14-gauge. Then we go thick speaker wire on this side, thin speaker wire on this side. See, you can't make this stuff up. So there's our 14-gauge ground that's loose, and then it magically turns into 8-gauge. Then we have, looks like a Sherman Vega amp thrown in here. Nope. Interesting. Some dollar store RCAs. I'm sure they're nice and noisy. And holy crap, what is this? No wonder they couldn't stick the amp in there. There's a bunch of wires jammed in there. Aha! Distribution block not mounted down, taking up space. Yep, the reason they couldn't put the amps in there is because there's a rat's nest of wires. Let's see what's going on by the battery. So they use 14-gauge speaker wire aluminum to power the amp, but they had the nerve to run 12-gauge oxygen-free copper wire to run the speakers in the back. So you use better wire to run the speakers than you do to power the amplifier. See, there's the cheap aluminum ground wire, but then they use good quality speaker wire. How lazy can you be? You're grounding there with the wrong size ring terminal. So this is an 8-gauge ring terminal with a 20-gauge wire, when the battery ground is right there, literally 6 inches away. Looks like we have a whoopsie on the power wire. See, this is where it gets fun. So we have an 8-gauge ground wire going to the battery. Then we have a 4-gauge ground wire, which does not go to the battery because that's the factory one. That's not 4-gauge, and that's the 8-gauge one we saw before. So that one's probably at the frame. So if you're taking 4-gauge ground from the frame, where's the 4-gauge ground from the battery going to the frame? But okay, doesn't make sense. And then there's the matching 4-gauge aluminum wire. So there's a matching pair there. Oh wow, I just touched and it fell apart. That's not good. There's fell out of that fuse holder right there. This wasn't you, was it, Leo?
No. No.
But look, they got the white tape from the dollar store.
Oh, isn't that cute?
See? That's why you don't use aluminum wires on motorcycles. I just touched it and it disintegrated. So I'm sure her audio was going in and out. See all the oxidation, all the white powder, and there's the other side. No bueno. So we're halfway through the wiring rescue on Storm's bike. So now we have the 800.4 under the radio. We got rid of the NVX amplifier. We have a 1600.1 on the headlight. That's going to run the 10s. HKI Mini DSP. All the wiring's been completely cleaned up. Then since it's Sony radio, we're going to run a water cover to keep water. Remove the plastic shrimp rack. We'll do a water cover to keep water from running down into the radio. So all the wiring has been cleaned up. We returned everything back to factory and then reused the factory connectors to run into the speaker pods. Night and day difference from the way it came in. There's our Cicada 10-inch mid-bass drivers in the bags. 0-gauge, oxygen-free copper feed from the battery to a distribution block. One more day and she'll be done.
I already see what it is. He thinks he's a gangster. Mr. Carter Paul. He thinks he's a gangster, cause you did time. Well, listen, you gangster, don't cross the line. We out, if you, we out, Beamers in and Paulus, thugs in and ballers. Ain't nothing safe when the paint starts. Look, man, keep thinking we shook, man. Do 'em like Bethune Cook, man. Come on, come on. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Come on. Don't be tripping when you see us in the club. Just show a little love, represent your side like me. If you stick, you get your hot one. One shot, a couple of them down. Belvedere in the rear of the club. Pull up on dubs, and we about to go and buy the bar up. So for sure we ain't playing. Hang with no lames. Walk and say, hey, where the party at?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck all these broke niggas, cause all I do is ball. Ain't no more off day, my crib look like a mall. Find the stylist, went and bought a big and tall. Niggas still scheming, but we sliding on them all. What's happening, nigga? Trap House 34, nigga. What's happening? Hey, till you come out, man. Damn, we out of cut again? Fuck. I told Pot to bring the pressure. Apply some pressure to the jazz. Yeah, I got 1,000 keys of cut. Guaranteed I make this money stack. I'm trying to make this money back.
Carlos Ramirez, owner of NVS Audio in Roselle, New Jersey. Storm took the trip up from Maryland for a wiring rescue and an audio upgrade. Are you completely happy with the way your bike sounds?
Yes, I am.
Worth the
Very
trip?
happy.
Awesome. Thank you.